all had that thought, haven't we? This
Yeah.
deep human desire, not just to live longer, but to, feel truly young again.
Hmm.
It's not just about chasing away the wrinkles. It's about holding on to that fundamental sense of vitality, that feeling that anything is possible.
Indeed. And the exciting shift, I think, in our understanding is the growing realization that the aging process might not simply be, well, our biological machinery wearing out.
Right. Not just rust.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Instead, there's a compelling argument building that it's rooted in a breakdown of our biological information systems at a very fundamental level.
Okay, that's that's a fascinating way to frame it. So if aging is essentially an information problem, could that mean we might be able to find information-based solutions?
Well, that's the hope.
And that brings us to the work of two really pivotal figures that our sources explore, David Sinclair and Michael Levin.
Precisely. Sinclair's research, it focuses on the idea that as we age, we experience a loss of epigenetic information within our cells.
Epigenetic.
Yeah.
Remind us.
Right, so these are the crucial instructions that dictate what each cell is and what it does. Kind of like software nodes.
Got it. And Levin.
Levin's work, on the other hand, delves into the bioelectric signals that act as a higher level blueprint, guiding how our tissues organize and develop.
So we're looking at information on two scales. The sort of micro-level instructions within each cell, and the macro-level electrical signals shaping our entire form.
That's right.
The truly exciting prospect, the core of our deep dive today, is examining how these two seemingly distinct fields might actually intersect.
Yeah, where they meet.
Could we be on the verge of understanding how to essentially rewrite the software of life by tackling aging at both of these fundamental informational layers? Our sources certainly suggest this is a very real possibility.
It's a compelling vision. Let's start with David Sinclair's concept of epigenetic drift.
Okay.
Imagine every cell in your body contains the same set of genes. That's like the hardware, right?
Right, the DNA sequence.
Epigenetics is like the software that runs on that hardware.
Oh.
It's made up of molecular markers that sit on your DNA and tell each cell which genes to switch on or off, determining whether it becomes a skin cell, a nerve cell, or any other type.
Right, so these epigenetic markers are what give each cell its specific identity and function.
Exactly.
And Sinclair's theory suggests that over time, due to various stresses, including like DNA damage, these instructions become disorganized.
Disorganized, yeah. A bit like a scrambled hard drive is a good analogy. The cell starts to lose its sense of self, its identity.
So the Blinkist version here is our cells forget who they are as they age because their instruction manual gets damaged. That's a powerful reframe of aging.
Exactly. This erosion of epigenetic information, this drift, is what Sinclair proposes as a key driver of the aging process.
Makes sense.
As cells become less certain of their roles, it leads to the various signs of aging we observe. Now, here's where it gets particularly interesting. Sinclair's experiments involving what are known as Yamanaka factors in mice have shown a remarkable ability to, in a sense, rejuvenate these cells.
Yamanaka factors.
Yeah.
These are proteins, right?
Yes, a specific set of proteins that, when introduced into a cell, can essentially rewind its developmental clock.
That was a truly tantalizing finding, wasn't it? The idea that we could potentially take older tissues and make them functionally younger just by tweaking these instructions.
It really was.
It's one of those aha moments where our understanding of aging seems to be undergoing a radical shift.
It is. And building on this idea of information decay at the cellular level, our sources also highlight a fascinating area of research looking at the bigger picture.
Okay.
How our tissues are organized and communicate. And that brings us to the work of Michael Levin and the realm of bioelectric fields.
Bioelectric fields. Okay, this might be less familiar to some.
Possibly. We typically think of cells communicating through chemical signals, right? Like hormones and neurotransmitters. But Levin's research illuminates another vital layer of communication. Voltage gradients across cell membranes.
Voltage gradients. Like tiny electrical charges.
Exactly. Think of it as an electrical language operating in parallel with the chemical one.
It's almost like the body has its own invisible internet operating alongside the chemical one. That's a fascinating way to think about it.
It is. And Levin's work indicates this isn't just background static. It's actively involved in directing how our bodies are assembled and how they repair themselves.
So it's a control system.
Precisely. These bioelectric fields act as a higher order control system, orchestrating the behavior of cells to form tissues, guide growth, and manage repair. Levin's research in species with remarkable regenerative capabilities is particularly compelling.
Like what?
For example, planaria, those little flatworms that can regrow their entire bodies from a tiny fragment.
Ah, yes, the ones you can chop up.
Those ones. They demonstrate the powerful influence of bioelectric signals on form. Manipulating these signals can even dictate things like the number of heads that regenerate.
Wow. Seriously.
Seriously. Similarly, in frogs, altering these fields has induced the regeneration of limbs they wouldn't normally be able to regrow.
So at this electrical level, you can essentially instruct the body to perform feats of regeneration it wouldn't ordinarily be capable of? That's huge.
It has profound implications, absolutely.
But how does this tie back into our understanding of aging? So if the cell's internal software, the epigenetics, is getting corrupted, does Levin's research suggest there might be a similar corruption in the body's overall operating system, the bioelectric blueprint?
That's a very insightful question. And yes, that's exactly where the convergence lies. Viewing aging as a form of information breakdown at both these interconnected levels.
Okay.
Sinclair's work highlights the degradation of the epigenetic software within cells.
Right.
While Levin's research suggests that the bioelectric blueprint that organizes those cells into functional tissues also becomes less precise or somehow corrupted with age.
Okay, so it's not just that the individual cells are losing their instructions, but the overall architectural plan that governs how those cells come together might also be fading or becoming less effective.
Exactly. Like the conductor losing the score while the musicians are also forgetting their parts.
That's a great analogy.
And the truly exciting potential lies in a combined strategy. Imagine being able to reset the epigenetic software within aged cells, rejuvenating them at their core.
The Sinclair part.
Right, and simultaneously restoring the correct bioelectric blueprint to guide these revitalized cells in forming youthful and functional tissues.
The Levin part.
Correct. The vision is a fundamental reset, tackling aging at its informational roots rather than merely addressing its outward symptoms.
Okay, that's the grand vision. Considering that, what's the current scientific footing for all of this based on our sources? What has been firmly established, and where are we still in the realm of, exciting possibilities?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the sources confirm several crucial points. Firstly, epigenetic changes are indeed strongly associated with aging. That's pretty well established.
Okay.
And the findings showing that partial reprogramming can restore some youthful characteristics in animal models provide significant support for Sinclair's core concepts.
So the reprogramming idea has legs, experimentally speaking.
In animals, yes. Secondly, Levin's work has unequivocally demonstrated that bioelectric fields play a vital role in guiding development and regeneration in various species.
A clinarium of frogs.
Exactly. And that manipulating these fields can lead to substantial anatomical changes. That's not really debated.
Right.
Finally, there is growing evidence of an interaction between bioelectric states and gene expression.
Ah, the link.
Yes, indicating a tangible link between these two informational systems. They aren't totally separate.
But while those findings are incredibly promising, the sources also point out some significant obstacles on the path to translating this into practical anti-aging therapies for humans, right?
Oh, absolutely. Huge hurdles.
The distance between these discoveries and widespread application seems considerable.
Immense. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources outline several key frontiers and challenges. A primary concern revolves around the safety and reliability of systemic partial reprogramming in mammals.
Meaning doing it to the whole body safely.
Exactly. We must ensure that it can rejuvenate the entire organism without triggering detrimental side effects, such as, cancer. That's the big one.
Right. Reprogramming gone wrong.
Then there's the challenge of adapting the bioelectric control observed in highly regenerative species,
like the worms,
to complex adult mammals, like us, which possess much more limited regenerative abilities. It's a big leap.
We don't regrow limbs, unfortunately.
Not yet, anyway. We also currently lack a comprehensive understanding of the bioelectric codes in mammals. We don't really know the language yet.
No, we can't just speak bioelectricity to our tissues.
Not precisely, no. Nor do we possess the means to reliably manipulate them throughout the body in a targeted way. Yep. And it's important to recall, as the sources emphasize, that aging is a complex process involving more than just information loss.
Right. It's not the only factor.
Issues like mitochondrial dysfunction, where the energy-producing parts of our cells become less efficient with age, also play a significant role. You can't ignore that stuff.
So it's clearly not as simple as just rewriting some code. It's a deeply intricate system.
Intricate.
However, the sources do suggest a potential roadmap if these two lines of inquiry were to truly converge, correct? That leads me to wonder, what might a unified research strategy look like?
Well, the sources propose several key steps. Firstly, the development of far more advanced techniques for simultaneously mapping both epigenetic states and bioelectric patterns across various tissues in real time.
See, both things happening at once.
Yes, exactly. This would provide us with a much more detailed and dynamic picture of how these systems interact during aging.
Like obtaining a complete real-time blueprint of the aging process at both the cellular and tissue levels.
Precisely. Following that, the idea would be to devise interventions that combine partial reprogramming the epigenetic reset with bioelectric modulation to guide those cells into forming healthy, youthful tissue structures.
So fixing the software and the architectural plan together.
That's the goal. We would also need to develop targeted delivery mechanisms.
How to get the fixes to the right place.
Right. Perhaps utilizing nanotechnology or even bioelectric scaffolds, things that can deliver treatments precisely and non-invasively to the intended areas of the body.
That sounds incredibly technically demanding. The sources also mentioned prioritizing specific types of tissues for initial research, didn't they?
They did. The suggestion is to begin with organs and tissues that are more accessible and potentially more responsive to controlled rejuvenation, such as skin, muscles, or perhaps simply organs.
Start small, basically.
Yeah, before tackling more complex structures like the brain, where the stakes are obviously much higher.
Makes sense.
And finally, a critical element would be incorporating individual biological profiles, our unique genetic, epigenetic, and bioelectric signatures to tailor these rejuvenation strategies.
Personalized medicine for aging.
Exactly. Acknowledging that aging is a highly individualized process. What works for one person might need tweaking for another.
It's a very systematic, almost engineering-based approach to biology. And then the sources touched upon this really futuristic concept, this regen suit, that really sparked the imagination.
It's certainly speculative,
Right.
way out there, but it serves as a compelling illustration of the long-term potential.
What is it, exactly?
Imagine a wearable technology, like a suit, that continuously monitors your body's bioelectric and epigenetic status in real time,
Wow.
and then delivers corrective signals and reprogramming cues precisely where they are needed, constantly fine-tuning your biology.
Like a personalized full-body reset button you wear. But the sources were clear that this is still firmly in the realm of science fiction for the time being.
Oh, definitely. Very much sci-fi right now. The sources highlight the immense scientific and technological leaps required to even contemplate such a device.
Like what kind of leaps?
Real-time, high-resolution biological sensing inside the body, safe and precise gene delivery methods throughout the body, incredibly advanced AI to orchestrate these complex interventions.
An AI conductor for your cells.
Pretty much. And a far, far deeper understanding of the intricate interplay between bioelectricity, genetics, epigenetics, and overall tissue health. We're scratching the surface.
So a distant vision.
A very distant vision. But as the sources suggest, it can serve as a kind of North Star for research, inspiring us to push the boundaries of what is currently achievable.
Okay. So to bring everything together then, this deep dive into our sources really underscores this fundamental shift in our understanding of aging. It's potentially not just about physical components wearing out, but about the degradation of these crucial information systems within our bodies.
Precisely. Sinclair's work on epigenetic information loss and Levin's research into bioelectric blueprints offer these two powerful and crucially complementary perspectives.
Right, they fit together potentially.
And the potential for their convergence is what makes this such an exciting and promising area of future research, I think.
It's undeniably ambitious, and the challenges, as we discussed, are significant. Huge.
No question.
But the foundational science appears to suggest that a fundamental shift in how we approach aging might indeed be within our grasp, potentially moving from simply treating the symptoms to addressing the underlying informational causes.
Absolutely. And it leaves you contemplating this, doesn't it? If aging is indeed a form of informational entropy, a gradual scrambling of our biological software, what other seemingly fundamental biological processes might also be governed by underlying code, just waiting to be deciphered and perhaps rewritten?